Most distinct eras of Australian cricket have been anchored around one truly generational batsman. And these players tend to form a pretty neat lineage. Clem Hill rises as probably the first truly great Australian batsman in the late 1890s, and then follows a line to Trumper, Bardsley, McCartney, Woodfull, Bradman, Harvey, Simpson, Chappell, Border, Waugh, Ponting, and then Smith. There are some small eras including multiple of these batsmen, and sometimes eras between them, of course, but even in the period after Ponting's decline and before Smith's peak, there was, for example, Michael Clarke to fill the gap. But Australia have an ageing team, perhaps no more clearly emphasised by the fact that Smith is now 36 and probably still unchallenged as the best batsman in the team. Where once it looked like Marnus Labuschagne would carry the torch and provide that stability as the dominant top-order player in his wake, he's got his own struggle just to get back into the team at the moment. And though I think he's a good player and will play a fair amount more Test cricket for Australia, he's certainly not looking like he will be a generational dominant force of the next decade of Australian cricket. So, who will be? Who will be Australia's next generational batsman to carry on the legacy of those mentioned before? I've got a list of a few players who might just be that, with the preface that it could also very well be none of them. Cameron Green is the obvious option, principally because he's already in the team. His Test average has been hovering in the mid-30s, but it's a tad deceiving given he's exclusively played in an era of incredibly tough home and away batting conditions, like those seen in the West Indies recently. In that series, he genuinely performed very well to average 30. His best in Test cricket was seen against New Zealand, where he hit a staggering 174 not out on a very tough pitch, having to shepherd the tail through most of his innings. He's already taken very well to the other formats, and as I record this, he only just hit an unbeaten ODI ton against South Africa, brought up in only 47 balls, and his IPL average sits at a touch above 40. But first-class cricket has always been his best format domestically, and despite a very slow start with the bat at Shield level, on account of the fact that he was a teenager batting 8 and 9, he currently boasts one of the highest batting averages in modern Shield history at 55, which is higher than Hayden, Border, Neil Harvey, both Wars and Steve Smith, just to name a few. All-rounders take time. It took Callis 20 tests to get his batting average above 30, and it took Steve Waugh 23. Waugh's average actually hung around in the mid-30s until his 50th test, when he was into his late 20s and 8 years into his Test career, so I think Cameron Green has time. The other obvious option, but perhaps a more speculative option, is Sam Konstas, who has been seen for a few years as a rising star of Australian cricket. Before it even played domestically, he was known for making runs at every level he'd gone to. His 2023-24 season was a bit of a slow start with a few Sheffield Shield appearances without much to show for it beyond a 50, and a relatively mediocre showing at Australia's victorious Under-19 World Cup. But his 2024-25 season was a real rollercoaster, starting with an enormous performance against South Australia in the Shield, where his twin tons immediately put him in the conversation for higher honours in a shaky Australian Test lineup. He didn't make another first-class ton all season, but he made a 73 not out for Australia A against India A, and then he hit a pretty outrageous century for the Prime Minister's 11 against India, which then catapulted him into the Test side. He immediately made a splash with a frankly outrageous 60 that I think a lot has been said about, but he ended the season struggling for consistency, and he had a really tough tour of the West Indies. I've always thought he had quite a few technical problems, but to my eye, he's already sorted through quite a lot of them in a small window of time, and he's certainly a much better player than he was just a couple years ago at the Under-19 World Cup, when he was already considered an enormous talent. The real bolter here is the left-handed Oliver Peake, who is a player who wasn't even supposed to be at that Under-19 World Cup, but came in as an injury replacement and as the youngest player in the entire squad. He capitalised on this opportunity to become a crucial member of the title-winning team, as he played assured knocks throughout, especially in the semi-final and the final. He is so young that he is still eligible to play in the next Under-19 World Cup, and has continued to play for the Under-19 team, hitting centuries against India Under-19 in both red and white ball matches in 2024. He then made his domestic debuts in 2025 for the Renegades in the Big Bash in January and for Victoria in the Sheffield Shield in March, where he top scored for the team on debut with a 168 ball half century against WA. But before he'd even played that first class match, the Australian selectors invited him to join the Australian Test team for the tour of Sri Lanka as a non-playing member to gain experience, and he has since been included in multiple Australia A squads. In July, he made his list day debut against Sri Lanka A, where he hit a 55 not out from just 38 balls, and he played his second and most recent first-class game as well, scoring 92 in his only innings for the game. Peake is an incredibly clever and level-headed batsman who simply seems to make the right decisions when he's at the crease. And most importantly, he's Victorian. And as a side note, his dad was a fringe Victorian player in the late 90s and early 2000s, but more than that, he was a massive inspiration for Aaron Finch at the Geelong Cricket Club. Cooper Connolly has only just turned 22, but he's already a three-format international with 12 matches for Australia to his name in the last year. Now, he has basically no runs at international level, but has had a really solid start to his Sheffield Shield career, averaging 60 across 4 matches, and has been a very good BBL player for a little while now. It's in this format where he's shown to be a natural shot maker and timer of the ball. He's able to generate a lot of power, and at his best is a very attractive stroke maker. But he has quirks in his technique, especially in his bat swing, so I can understand why there would be reservations about him. The player he's actually attracted the most comparison to so far in his career is Shaun Marsh, so whether that's a good omen or a bad one, it's hard to say. Before Sam Konstas or Ollie Peake were the next big thing, that was Teague Wyllie, who had a great Under-19 World Cup in 2022, and before that was something of a YouTube sensation. He then had a strong start to his domestic career, winning the Sheffield Shield with WA before he even turned 18, and then he hit a great century in tough conditions in just his third match against a Nathan Lyon-led New South Wales side. He was then given a long rope batting 3 for WA, but he's had a tough few seasons, with a career average hovering around 20 and only playing 8 first-class matches in the last 2 seasons. Wyllie is a player who grew up idolising Rahul Dravid, and that shows when watching him. He's defensively very sound and is clearly a natural top-order player, but he doesn't seem to have the scoring shots yet. But given he's just played in the top-end T20 series over the pre-season, it seems like that's something that he's trying to work on. He's coming off a really good Premier season in WA, and it's not the end of the world for a 20-year-old to struggle to make the WA side or struggle in Sheffield Shield cricket. But this upcoming season could be a big one for him, and certainly there are still incredibly high hopes for him. Teague's teammate at WA, Jayden Goodwin, has continued to slowly build his career, with decent Shield returns last season and a call-up to the Australia A side, wherein he hit a 70 against the England Lions, before being undone by Shoaib Bashir's staggering release point. Like Wyllie, Goodwin is a natural top-order player with a compact technique who might be able to become an international player if he learns to find more scoring options. And yes, his father is the former Zimbabwean batsman Murray Goodwin. Victoria's Campbell Kellaway was one of the only openers who had a good season in the Sheffield Shield last year, and he looked to have taken a big stride in his game after a few steady years before that. It was in this season that he hit his first 3 professional centuries. Always a strong player defensively, he dramatically improved his shot making, especially through the leg side, and he earned call-ups to the Australia A side to play Sri Lanka A. He could find himself in international contention sooner rather than later with another strong season, and at only 22, he has time regardless. Harry Dixon is just 20 and has come off a very prolific youth international career, where he hit a lot of runs in all formats. especially against England, who he hit 3 tons against on a tour in 2023. He then played a crucial role for Australia under-19s in the victorious 2024 World Cup campaign, where he made the team of the tournament. He debuted in all 3 formats domestically in 2025 and has shown glimpses of real quality, hitting a powerful 66 on Shield debut against Tasmania, including 3 sixes. Dixon is a player who sees the ball extremely early and plays with power as a natural 3-format player, and as a left-hander, it is not a surprise that his idol is David Warner. Hugh Weibgen also made that under-19 team of the tournament as he captained Australia to the title, along the way hitting a great ton against England. Weibgen hasn't yet debuted for Queensland and hasn't shot the lights out at Big Bash level, but he's a composed, adaptable and technically sound batsman who I presume will play a part for them sometime this season. Riley Kingsell didn't make the last under-19 World Cup squad, but has since kicked on and hit over 1,700 runs last season across all levels. This included him being the second top run scorer at the under-19 National Championships, averaging almost 60 in Sydney first grade cricket, during which he became the youngest player in the history of the competition to hit a double century, and he made his debut for New South Wales second 11. He has now earned a state rookie contract and is definitely a player to look out for. Simon Budge, Stephen Hogan and Will Malajczuk, I'm going to throw these guys all together, they're all players to look out for at the next Under-19 World Cup. Budge was the only player to make more runs than Kingsell at the National Championships and opened the batting for Australia Under-19s last year, having only just turned 17. He also keeps wickets, so that's an added bonus. Hogan and Malajczuk were the star batters of the last Under-17 National Championships and also had respectable Under-19 championships playing up an age group. All 3 of these guys have been named in the Under-19 squad for the upcoming series against India that will take place in Queensland in September 2025. And just to round it out, I'll name Jason Sangha, Nathan McSweeney and Jack Clayton as players who could finally have everything come together and click in sort of a Marnus Labuschagne way, where if they're lucky, where they could have a steady domestic career and have a few years at the top. And certainly Jason Sangha in particular had an outstanding last summer after moving state, so that could be a real career reset for him as a former player who had enormous hopes on him. I'm not saying all these guys will become great or even good or even decent, but I think this is a very comprehensive list of all of the range of options open to Australia and of players who may emerge within the next few years. And certainly if Australia do find a new generational batsman in the next 2 to 3 years, or maybe 2 to 5 years even, I think it will probably be a player from this list. That said, I can't include everyone, so if you think I missed someone out, let me know.